Hello, everybody. How y'all doing today? Happy Sunday. I haven't made a sit-down video like this in a little while. I think it's time that I make a video like this to address all the things that have happened. I was kind of waiting for a big bombshell to land before I actually went ahead and made a video like this, but I feel like enough has happened over the last week to where I should probably put out one video like this where I talk through things. I am discussing all of these things in my streams. On my streams, I've been playing Nio lately. If you're not getting in those streams, then you're missing out on a lot of interesting discussion. Thank you to everybody who's been joining my streams the last several days. We've been talking about free agency almost nonstop. I will be streaming sometime later today. I don't know exactly when, but you can come check me out there. You can interact with me a little better. So basically, the story of free agency has not yet fully been told for these Seahawks, and I'm optimistic that at the end of it, I'll at least have something to feel good about. But it's also a little nerve-wracking because, well, frankly, we might not get any of the key pieces that we need to really put this team together. So free agency has gone on, and I've been waiting for the cannon to be fired, and the cannon is still just sitting there. And the thing is, more than likely, we are going to need more than one cannon shot. We are going to need to nail a couple of big splashes to make people happy with this free agency. So, first off, George Fant is gone. He signed with the Jets. I'm happy for him. He got paid. I knew we weren't going to be able to keep him for that amount of money because he doesn't even start on this team right now because he's not a good right tackle. It made no sense for us to keep him. Quentin Jefferson went to the Bills, which was sad. Again, I like Quentin Jefferson. I'm happy for him, but he was a guy I wanted to retain. Not that he was on this team anymore, but I know Nick Vannett got paid by the Broncos, so again, good for him. Uh, he never did much in Seattle. I don't think he did very much in Pittsburgh, but Denver's given him a shot, so happy for him. And basically, this offseason so far has been about trying to keep things the same way they were last year. And for me, that's very discouraging because I don't feel like last year's product was good enough. I don't feel like last year's product's record was indicative of their actual ability. And I feel like if we just bring back the same group from 2019 in 2020, it's not going to be good. So there have been some exceptions to that. Obviously, we brought in Greg Olson, but that was weeks ago, so we've all known about that. We have brought in four offensive linemen, which I'll tell you this much. I really like what we're doing on the offensive line. We brought in BJ Finney, who I really like. He can replace Britt at center. He can replace Upati or Fluker at guard, and he can replace Fant as the swing left tackle or swing tackle, depending on what we want to do with him. So there is a ton of opportunity for a guy like BJ Finney to immediately make a big contribution to the Seahawks next year. And I think he's going to start somewhere personally. I think he'll probably start at one of the guard spots. I personally want him to start at center, but wherever he starts, I think he has the opportunity to be a big part of whatever success we might have next year. And we got him for a fraction of what George Fant cost and what a Fetty would have cost. And yeah, I really like that. I like Brandon Shell. He's presumably going to come in and replace a Fetty at right tackle. We're paying him a fraction of what a Fetty is tracking to get paid because a Fetty's probably still going to get at least $12 million a year. Shell we got for about $5.5 million a year. According to the metrics that I've seen, he has been a approximately equivalent pass blocker to a Fetty over the last 3 years. Last year, he was actually slightly better than a Fetty as a pass blocker. So, to me, Shell gives us an Fetty replacement who is approximately as effective, but he's a lot cheaper, and we don't have to invest long-term dollars into him. Shell might only be here a year and it's not crippling to our cap. We brought in a Cedric Ogbuhi or Ogibuhi, who might replace George Fant as the swing tackle. He's obviously a huge bust, but maybe he can fill in well in the George Fant role. We brought in Chance Warmack, which, he was out of football last year. So I don't have a strong opinion about that, but I really like what we're doing on this offensive line. We're bringing in cheap, effective pieces that I think can allow us to at least be somewhat capable this year on the offensive line without spending huge dollars on players who just don't deserve that money. And it also means we're not betting our future on rookies. So if I was to grade our performance on improving the offensive line so far in free agency, I would say I am very happy with that. As for the rest of it, look, I got no problem with bringing in Bruce Irvin. I think that, he's coming off a very good 2019 season. I think he will make some meaningful contributions for the Seahawks in 2020. I like Bruce. It's good to have him back. Excuse me. And it's cheap. If it doesn't work out, it's not that big of a deal. So I think that Irvin could, especially if we bring in some other good pass rushers, could make a meaningful contribution for the Seahawks next year. And that's all you can ask for. So I'm pretty happy about that. Jerron Reed, he's been kind of the big closest thing to a splash so far, but he was here last year, so it's not anything new. And look, the $11.5 million a year, it's a lot of money per year, but the flexibility of only having to give him a 2-year deal is big. So I don't love the deal. I don't hate it. I'm pretty ambivalent about it. I think it's okay. I think it could work out. If it doesn't work out, we can probably get out of that deal pretty easily. I can't imagine that cutting him in the last year of his deal would be cost prohibitive. But to me, it's okay to bring back Reed. I don't love it, but he's going to have the opportunity and he's going to have the motivation to prove that he can be a good pass rusher again. We know he can stop the run pretty well, but now he has motivation to make sure that he produces as a pass rusher over the next 2 years so he can get a big deal later on. So individually, I like a lot of the moves we're doing. We brought back David Moore with a tender. He was a restricted free agent, which I think is fine. I think we overpaid for Jacob Hollister to bring him back, but it's not a capital offense, in my opinion, to pay a guy like Jacob Hollister a couple $1 million. I don't like him. I don't really want him on this team, but it's not horrible. We're bringing back guys like Brandon Jackson. We're tendering Joey Hunt. Whatever. These guys are very cheap. I'm not going to act like these guys are going to make or break the fortune of our team. I don't hate having them around because they have experience. I don't really want them on the field because they're not very good. So individually, I think a lot of the things we're doing in this free agency period have been fine, but it is really time for this team to give us something to really get excited about. We need something new and something big. So when I say that, of course, Jadeveon Clowney, who it seems like is not getting the money he thought he would and is going to have to come back to Seattle with his tail between his legs and possibly get another 1-year deal, maybe sign a 4-year deal, making like 16 mil a year, 4 years, 64 million, something like that. He might end up having to settle for something like that because he didn't have the big year that he thought he could, and then he didn't get the free agency interest that he thought. Clowney is not going to be enough because I think we are going to sign Clowney in the next couple days. I think it'll be either the 1-year deal or it's going to be a 4-year, $64 million deal. Maybe even a little less. I don't know. It seems like there's no market for him the way he was expecting. And that's not going to be enough. We need another piece on this pass rush if we want to actually contend next year, in my opinion. At least contend beyond what we did last year. Last year's team, in my opinion, was not a true contender. We had incredible amounts of luck in close games. We had so many things go our way in the fourth quarter and in overtimes that it's hard for me to even say that that team was much better than average. So we have seen guys go off the board. Dante Fowler Jr. signed with the Falcons. Robert Quinn signed with the Bears. Matthew Judon got franchise tagged, although he is still potentially an option. There have been some other guys that have already gone some places, but Clowney by himself is not going to be enough. So I'm looking at Yannick Ngakoue, the Jacksonville defensive end. Ngakoue. He's a trade target. We might have to give up some serious draft picks to get him, but that's an option. There's Judon, who I'm not crazy about trading for, but that's also a possibility. And I think the kind of crown jewel right now, in terms of us acquiring a player without having to give up a ton, is Everson Griffin. I don't know exactly what's going on with some of those guys specifically. My understanding is that the only teams that are showing real interest in Everson Griffin are the Seahawks, the Cowboys, and the Browns. And I don't think the Browns can really bring him in anyway because of all the guys they've already brought in. But something needs to happen because I'm looking at this team right now. And it's also about what we're not getting rid of. It's not just about the couple players we've lost or the couple players we kept. It's about the players we're not saying goodbye to. And I don't mean Reed. I mean Justin Britt, who is due $11 million this year. And I think his ceiling is to be about an average center right now. And for some reason, we are not cutting him to save $8 million. It's guys like Ed Dixon, who I think he's going to be cut eventually, but what are we waiting for? Why is he still on this team when we have 18 others tight ends already on the team? Like, do we not want to save that $4 million? It seems like the most obvious slam dunk cut ever. So I need something to get excited about. I was excited about moving on from Justin Britt this season, and as time goes by, it seems like that's not going to happen. I was excited about saving some money cutting Ed Dixon. I was excited about maybe, I hate to say this because I like KJ Wright, but, saying goodbye to KJ Wright or restructuring KJ Wright's deal so we can have a little more money this year, and none of it is happening. So at the end of this free agency period, if we don't get the guys that we need on our pass rush, which is basically probably Clowney and one more guy, and the excuse is, oh, we didn't have the cap room, then heads really need to roll in this franchise. I'm talking Carroll and I'm talking Schneider, because to me, they are missing some very obvious things here. Some of these guys should have been cut days ago. Chris Richard should have been fired months ago, to be perfectly honest with you. And it seems like we just kind of want to run it back from last year and maybe add one or two pieces. And if we do not have a good season in 2020, then it's really time to start demanding that some of these people lose their jobs. And I mean everybody. I mean everybody all the way up to right below Jody Allen, the owner. So, yeah, individually, I think the moves we have made so far in free agency are fine, but they are not going to be enough to get this team to where it needs to be. So I need to see the cannon fire quick. Because if I wake up tomorrow morning and I hear Everson Griffin signed with the Cowboys and Yannick got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles and Clowney signed with the Titans, then I'm going to be wondering, why are we the only team in the league that doesn't want to spend money? Why do we think we can get away with having our only good pass rushers next year be Bruce Irvin and Jerron Reed, who are both huge question marks? So yeah, I'm getting antsy. I'm not panicking, but it's time that we do something just to prove that we're still alive. All right, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go get on stream a little later. You can come chat me then. But yeah, I'm just making this video to say it's been an okay off season so far, but one or two big pieces would really bring the whole thing together. I'm